Yeah, good
Yeah.
going. Was it like
Yeah.
45,000? I think I saw.
Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
That's good. Nice.
All right, gang. Hey, here we are. We are live. Welcome to Hot Off the Press. I'm Randy, the news guy. And I have to tell you, I'm so super excited. This guy really kind of helped get me on the path when, as an agency, we were like, hey, let's look and see what some other things that we can do to have another silo of revenue. And Barry was like the man who really actually kind of helped guide our initial path. And this was like back in 2018, I think. I was like scrolling through old Facebook messengers, like our conversations, like how far this is. I know it's been years. How far back did this guy?
I know.
Yeah. So I'll do a quick intro for you. And, I think in kind of promoting the show, I was saying, hey, he's a 7-figure freelancer, and that's probably a short selling you. Actually, you're probably well beyond that. And as well, I think it's almost not a disservice, but it certainly is a shallow introduction to call you a freelancer, because I know, certainly as you've worked with us, and you're an outstanding copywriter, and really a very creative from that standpoint. And I know, as we were just talking before we went live, you're an entrepreneur. You got a lot of different things that you kick up and start rolling and working with. Plus, I know you say you're a kind of a hybrid agency, but I know you do SEO and you have SEO clients. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
so that's why I'm like, well, to call you a freelancer is like, well, that is it's a good piece of revenue that he's got going, but he's also involved in so many other things. But anyway, Barry Page. And for those folks who don't know Barry as well is like, and we were just talking about this before, it's like Barry kind of is out there. You'll see him. He posts some great stuff, like intrigues you. And then all of a sudden he'll like kind of float back down below the surface. You're like, where the hell did that guy go? He was great.
As I was just saying, I'm always in the background, I'm always lurking somewhere, So so you might see something come up, and then I sort of go back and basically go back into the cave and start working again, So this is my cave. This is my cave that you see right now.
So welcome, Barry, and it's a real honor for me, and it's just good to have a good, proper conversation with you. It's been a while since we've actually have talked, besides kind of texting or what have you. I'm going to remind the folks, hey, like, subscribe, follow, all of that fun stuff. We'll say hi to a few folks. Hey, Pamela, good to see you. Terry Samuels, what's up, my man? Love Terry. For those folks, Barry, who really don't know you, you want to give like just kind of a short story on, the Barry Page story?
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, so I guess where do I start? Okay, so I suppose I could start from where I'm at now. So as I was telling you earlier, so I guess it's hard to really sort of even identify what I would call myself, but I guess the closest thing would be like a hybrid agency. So yes, I'm a freelancer, and I've been in SEO for 12, 13 years now, but I do have people that I work with on a daily basis, and everybody's based in different countries, and we're all remote and everything. So yeah, I'm firstly, I guess you would say, a freelancer. Then I guess you would say I'm a hybrid agency owner. I wouldn't consider myself, in my mind, agencies are, you go to the office every day with some keys, and there's everybody in the office, and they're all working behind the computers. That's, in my mind, what an agency is. But I think, honestly, nowadays, the real world, with everything being so remote and easy now, I think most agencies are literally people that are just a group of people working collectively in different areas and stuff. So yeah, you could call myself an agency. But yeah, so sort of winding back from that, I guess you would say Yeah, how far do I go back? Okay, so some people that don't know me, I'm obviously British. You can probably tell from my accent, but I've been in Thailand now for this month is my 19th year in Thailand. So about 12 years of that I've been doing SEO, and previous to that I was a teacher for high schools and a university, and I did adult teaching, things like that. Yeah, and I've just been, what have I done, Randy? You've seen what I've been doing, so here and there. So I guess 2017, maybe 2018, I started a freelancer project to help freelancers become
Mm.
better copywriters, help them get more clients, communicate with people better. I launched a couple of courses, some pretty successful, some not so much, but I always learn something, which is pretty much
Mm.
what I love just sort of trying new things, learning new things, things like that. So yeah, so that's I guess, a very, very short backstory of
Yeah.
where I am now, sort of where it evolved from, and yeah, um, that's that's me in a nutshell right now. But fire any questions away. You
Yeah.
know,
Well, I always think it's kind of fun because you are, that you are like the poster child, so to speak, for, all of these people who are like, I want to be this nomad. I want to go to some foreign country and work remote, start up my own kind of internet business and fulfill and do all of that. I mean, you did that before there was even a
oh yeah.
definition of
I
that.
think, yeah. I mean, I remember me and my friend years and years and years ago were trying drop shipping, and we managed to do it, but this was before Shopify or anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were putting up these WordPress websites, and basically, it was really silly and complicated, but it kind of worked. And we were doing Amazon, and we were buying these. Have you seen we used to call it the Thai magic, right? So you get these very Thai ornaments and wooden frogs and vases, all this
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
Thai artwork and handcrafted stuff. And we gave it a brand name, and we used to go to a local shop and buy their products. And then we came to an agreement and said, can we take photos of your products and we'll put them on our website, and then when they sell, we'll come and buy the products. And obviously, and we did that for a while, and it was all right, you know. But yeah, that was pre Shopify or anything like that. And
Right.
I mean, when I arrived in Thailand, the Facebook didn't even exist, you know. So it was a long time ago, you know.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
is crazy. Yeah,
yeah.
so
So
you've
there's
been
a few,
going strong for a while. So
yeah. So
Terry's got a good question for you. How long did it take you to learn the language? Because
it's
now I'm
funny.
sure you're quite fluent. I
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
be.
fluent now. So it's funny you bring that up, Terry, because just today I was actually on Reddit and somebody was talking to me and asking me the same question. So it took me, I would say, around 3 years, I would say,
Mm.
of being very actively interested in the language and write. I used to carry a little notebook around with me, a pen and a notebook, real like old school, you know. I'd learn a word, write it down, and just keep it in my pocket. And I
Yeah.
basically aimed to learn one word a day. And I did that, and I would practice the next word. And then over time, it kind of evolved. And yeah, and I'd say after 6 months, I could have very basic conversations, very, very basic, with terrible pronunciation and all that. Because it's a tonal language. So if people out there don't know, it has 5 tones. So you can say something in English that might sound like, say, cat or something, but if you say it like cat or cat, it changes the meaning completely in
Yeah.
their language. So you have to be very good at tones. But yeah, so it probably took me about 3 years to the point where I didn't have to actively learn, and I was just using what I already knew to then converse with people, and then just kind of evolved from there, really. So yeah, so that was, yeah, so I guess really I've been fluent for 13, yeah, 14 years or something like that, which is pretty crazy. So another crazy thing. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, so
Uh, I've only been to Asia once at this point in my life, and went to China on a trip, and I was just so amazed because it is not going there is certainly not like going to the UK or going to Sweden or somewhere where, you know,
Yeah,
there may be a different language, but you can kind of like, well, I can kind of figure it out a little bit, right? I mean,
yeah,
there's enough similar, it's a romantic or a, you know, there's enough Latin in it that I'm like, I can figure that out. But
yeah,
I will going to
yeah.
Asia, it is like a
Oh,
complete,
yeah.
I might as well have gone to the moon because
Yeah, yeah. You know what? I remember the first time that I came to Thailand. It was obviously it was a very, very short holiday. It was a 10-day holiday, and I was 20 years old. Um, and I didn't really have any expectations other than, okay, this is like me going on a short trip to Spain, or which is quite common for us in the UK, just to travel to Spain or Greece or something like that on short trips.
Mm,
They're like 4-hour flights, 2 hours even. So coming to Thailand, I wasn't really feeling anything. I was just sitting on the
yeah,
plane. All I thought like, this was a long way. And I remember looking out the window and seeing India. It was a really clear day, and I saw on the map, oh, we're in India, we're over India. And I looked down and I could see it, and it was just like bright green. And I was like, wow, okay, this feels different. So yeah, so when I landed, it was just this was at the old airport as well, which was, you know, there's a lot of stories of the old
yeah.
Bangkok airport and all these, you know, like these drug
Are you in
traffic.
Bangkok? Where are you in Thailand?
No, so I've moved around a lot. I lived in Bangkok twice actually, but now I live very close to the notorious Pattaya city. So anybody that knows a little bit about Thailand will say, "Oh, you live in Pattaya," which is why I have to defend myself sometimes, because I don't live in Pattaya, but I live very close for good reasons, not those reasons. So,
Not those reasons. All right.
yeah, 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 yeah. So
Yeah.
so I remember landing, and thing that really stood out to me, that there was a big sign in English, Thai and then English, and it said, drug traffickers will be executed, just straight like that. And I was like, "Oh, this is like pretty dark."
They don't play around there.
No, I don't. So so that was like a shock. And then when I got
Yeah.
into Thailand, into the taxi, I was like, "What is this?" The taxi driver had his music on loud. He was smoking out the window. He was like laughing, and I was just like, "This is great!" And it was so vibrant, and everybody was just like so energetic. And
Yeah.
I'd gone from at the time, it was October in the UK, which is a pretty miserable month for weather usually,
Uh,
and I gone from October, flew over to Thailand from like everybody's miserable and whatever, and then I flew to Thailand. Everybody was just so happy and just so sociable, and I was just like, and I was just in love with the place straight away. I was just like, so from that day when I came back, I just kind of had it in my head. I had the bug. I was like,
yeah.
I've got to somehow make my way over there. I had no idea how.
Yeah.
I was at the time I was a mechanic for Toyota. So I had to stay because I was doing an apprenticeship. So I had to finish my qualifications with Toyota, but I really didn't like that job either. But I just held on for dear life in that job. I qualified. Then as soon as I qualified, I bounced to the next garage down the road, saved up for 10 months, and then flew to Thailand. One-way ticket. So,
That's funny because I was just going to ask you, like, when the next time you went, were you like, "No, I'm here. I'm not."
yeah,
You kind of like what was that Cortez or whatever? Like you burn the boats at the beach,
yeah,
right? Now
it
I'm like,
was.
I'm just coming over.
Yeah, it was definitely like that. I mean, when I talk to people about this, sometimes it's like, yeah, I look back on it, you know, and it's kind of it's like romantic to remember it and everything. But if the fact that I was young, so young, and I had no commitments, all it was just me and my kind of fear of doing the thing. But I didn't have kids to look after and a wife to
Right.
look after and a locked in career. And so sometimes people say, like, oh, you've just got to dare to do these things. I don't think that's always the case. I think for me, it was just, I was very fortunate that at a young age, I was just like, okay, I've got the opportunity to do something here. And I just kind of jumped, and 19 years later, I'm speaking to you in
And there
Thailand.
you
So
are. Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So,
Man, all right. I
yeah.
love it. Hey,
Yeah.
Manari, good to see you, man.
Hey,
Um,
Manari.
so question for you. So in
Sure.
kind of thinking about SEO and early in your career, did you, so you kind of were doing the drop ship thing. And then when did you kind of veer and start thinking about, SEO? And I mean, and again, folks, I mean, Barry is like a monster link provider, builder, package. I mean, he is a king over on, I don't even know if you want to talk about where you are, what you do, but
I just generally operate through Facebook and social media and things now, and like obviously my old marketplace and stuff.
Yeah.
So I almost had a website design. I did have a website designed, and then I kind of closed it down. I've never really needed it, to be honest. I never really used it because just the way I do things. Usually, what happens is someone will contact me, ask me if I can look at something. I usually do a Loom recording, send it to them, and then it's, from there. So, so I don't know if I'm digressing a little bit.
So when did you make that path? I mean, now, and, I've known you for years, but, and I've always highly regarded you from an SEO standpoint and what it is that you do and things that you provide. But so when did you start? Did you I'm going to get into this SEO thing. I'm going to, go study it, and then I'm going to figure out how I can make money off of it, with it.
Yeah, so I can answer that. So the same friend that I used to do the drop shipping with all the Thai ornaments and things like that. So he contacted me one day and he said, our friend Mark is making all this money on this place called the Warrior Forum. So the Warrior Forum. So I think a lot of people got their start from the Warrior Forum. It's quite funny.
Man, I haven't heard that forever.
No, I haven't even ever attempted to even look back at the Warrior Forum because I heard they turned into like very advertorial type of setup. I don't know, but it's apparently not the place it used to be.
Yeah.
So that same friend, so Mark was doing article spinning, basically, for webmasters, people that own the website. So me and my friend at the time thought, okay, we want to do this together. We're in this together. So we started, we didn't start article spinning. We started actually writing articles for people. So that was tough. So basically what we did is we had just a pinned post, and we paid for it wasn't expensive, paid for a feature on the Warrior Forum to say that we would be creating content for you. We'd do 10 articles or whatever. In fact, we were only charging when we increased our prices to the point we were like, oh yeah, we're doing it right now. We were charging $7 an article, and we had to split that in half. Yeah, and it was good. It was good content. I can promise you now. We really put our effort into that, because we were so desperate for good reviews and a good reputation. So we were slogging it out. Me and him, he was at his house, I was at mine, and we were just typing, old school typing, all from our heads. And some of the projects that we got, I always remember one. It was this guy was creating a niche website on baby changing tables. So he wanted a set of 50 articles all about baby changing tables, and they all had to be unique, you see. And we were like, how? So me and him were just like, article 9, baby changing tables. and it always ended up starting off in the same way that you'll see these cliche openings, like, in this fast-paced modern world. Again, you see that so much even now. I'm like, stop saying that, So and
you were doing that stuff old school before there, certainly before any AI stuff, and probably I would guess even at that time, you probably still had limited kind of tools available to do research and stuff, right?
We didn't. Yeah, it was. I mean, at that time when we were kind of fully into the content and we had enough customers coming in, and we could leave our jobs, basically, is what we ended up doing. We were so strapped for cash, we couldn't purchase any tools or any special things and whatever. And I'm not joking. For a short while, I was actually sitting on a blue plastic box as my chair because I couldn't afford an office chair, and I was just like ding ding ding, like, hammering over this old secondhand computer that I bought off a neighbour that I was paying on finance. It was so yeah, so we didn't have any tools or anything like that. We were just like old school typing, and it helped me become a fast typer though, so I'll never take any of it back. But yeah, it got really, really, really tough because, like you can only do so much in a day, after, if you write 10 articles of say 500 to 700 words per article per day, every day, after a certain while, the burnout really, really kicks in.
Man, that's a lot. Yeah.
It's too much. I couldn't do it now. It was that kind of youthful eagerness, like, right, now I would just be like, no, there's smarter ways to make money than this. So we were doing that, and of course the people that were hiring us were people that owned websites, you see. And then over time, a few guys started speaking to us about, can we do other things? Can we do a few links? Can we do this? And then I guess the content kind of just led me down that path of finding out what this link building thing is and what SEO is and kind of things like that. And then I guess I got my kind of break, I guess you would say, is when a friend of mine who actually was from the UK originally, that I knew from back home, also moved to Thailand. And he was part of a forum, an internet marketing forum, where the head guy was training everybody how to create these niche affiliate websites. In their forum, they had their go-to SEO guy, but something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, but basically they stopped using their SEO guy and they needed a new SEO guy. My friend was already in the forum, so he spoke to me and I was like, cool. So then I jumped in the forum, and then I went from basically doing content to slowly doing links for these people in this private forum. There was the health niche. They were all health affiliates and stuff. Right. So yeah, so that was pretty much how that happened. And then just one thing led to another. And then obviously got my face out there a little bit more, and then just evolved from there really. And then it's pretty crazy. I've had some incredible clients, in SEO. So yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it.
So I want to ask you as well, and I kind of early on here in the intro, I talked about your skill at copywriting, but it really, I mean, you're really a craft master at this. I mean, I was just looking back, earlier. I came into the office a little bit earlier, and I was like, I haven't talked with Barry for so long. I haven't looked at some of this stuff, and I was like, pulled up some copy that you had thrown to me, like, hey, I have some ideas here. Take a look at this, and I'm like, oh wow, this is really good. Yes. So I have a question. Like, when did you kind of get this idea about copywriting and really dive in? Because it is, I mean, it is a skill set. I mean, it is something you just don't like, I'm going to sit down and write and be really good at copywriting. So did you study? Did you become, engaged in books and learn how to do this thing?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. So I would say, so aside from the copywriting, I read a lot anyway. I guess I've read quite a lot since I was probably in my late teens, and I've always been interested in human psychology for some reason. I've always been interested to learn how people think, really as an attempt to understand myself, I guess. I don't, so, I still haven't figured it out. So I've always read those types of books on psychology and that, nothing too medically technical or anything, but like the mainstream kind of psychology books, and how to become successful or whatever, all those kind of books. And then I think over time those kind of books just kind of led me. It's very closely aligned with copywriting anyway, if you think about it. Because it's all just human psychology at the end of the day. It's just like, how would this person be affected by this word? How do they you know, how do you get them in the next state to make them feel like this? And it's not done. It's not because I've got an interest in like manipulating people or anything like that. I just generally have an interest in finding out what makes people do certain things. So I think I was drawn to copywriting for that reason. And then, and then a few things happened really. I went to a couple of masterminds. I don't know if you know Mitch Miller. He's pretty decent copywriter. He's very respected copywriter. And he lives in Thailand. So back in 2000 and that might have been 2018, I went to his. It was called Project Persuasion, which was the mastermind at his like big compound that he had. So I went there, absolutely loved it, learned loads of stuff, and then kind of was hooked there as well. Went the next year, and I've just generally kind of bought lots of books on copy, and I'm old school, you know. I write things down, you know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
There we go. So I like to just, you know, to put my thoughts, you know, to get my thoughts out there. An app for me is just so distracting, and there's not enough commitment, you know. But when I write things down, like anytime I do copy, I haven't actually written copy for anybody for a long time. I've just been focused on SEO for a long time now. But when I was writing copy for clients and things, I would just sit there with a notepad like that and actually just write it out in hand. And then I would just actually say it out loud, which is one of the kind of pieces of advice they say is you should actually speak it out loud, and so it sounds natural. So that's you know, that's a bit of me and my copywriting thing, you know. So but it's always there in the background, but at the moment it's like SEO will always be with me. I think I know that now. I've been into it for so long now, and at different varying levels over the years, but right now I'm very, very deep on it. I've been following a lot of all this algorithm news and stuff, and a lot of that actually is, I think a lot of people will agree that it was nothing wildly new to a lot of SEOs. It's like, okay, wow, we knew that already. But what it did do is it gave us like, okay, we'll double down on what we already knew was true anyway. So that's what I'm doing, you know. So which is press releases, of course, as you know.
Sure.
I'm one of your customers for press releases as well. So, you know, so that's.
I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yes. I think on the copywriting thing, I will tell you, I think it is fascinating. And I don't know if you know a guy, Marty Marion.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I had Marty has been on the show a month or so ago, and I sit down with you guys and start talking about copywriting, and my mind is like blown about how you approach things and how you word and kind of just. And I really, it is a craft. And as you begin to like, well, if you say it this way, you're going to elicit this kind of a response from somebody, or in order so that they'll start, thinking and or engaging with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
I mean, Marty is definitely light years ahead of me in terms of copy. I mean, I think I would consider him as an OG, you know, that type of thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just think it's, in the right hands, if you have good intentions and things, you can use copy to really influence people in the right way. Even with my SEO business and stuff, when I speak to clients, I don't consciously think I'm going to say that. Like I said just a minute ago, I'm going to say this, and he's going to do that, and he's going to do that. But if I truly believe something is going to be good for somebody, it's useful for me to have communication skills. So that's it. All kind of rolls into one, whether it's written copy or spoken persuasion or whatever. Right. I just think it's a skill that everybody should really try and learn to some degree.
Well, I agree. I completely agree, and I will say I've been a student of it. I think for a while as well, and I'm like, man, I would know where. I'm horrible at it, but I'm so intrigued by the aspects of it. So, but anyway, So onto the SEO, and I did want to. So Terry Samuels, if you know Terry, well, he's got such a great conference. He does great work over at Solterra.
Right.
Terry and I have worked together for quite a while as well, and he as well loves PRs. Thank you, and he's got a whole theory on and a process for PR stacking that he does.
Oh, nice.
So I see he's starting doing a talk over in the his SEO spring training group. So
Oh, okay. Interesting.
should go check that out about how
Oh,
he
yeah.
is,
I'd be very interested to learn about that as well.
yeah. He's got a terrific technique and a selfish plug. He uses our PRs to do his PR stuff.
Oh, they're good. So why not? Why not?
Yes, why not? So you went off on the whole thing about the algorithms and stuff and all of the algorithm leak and everything. So a couple of questions around that. And I think you're absolutely right. Some of the stuff that's come out, and I've read so many different takes on it, and people like, well, Google will say this thing like, no, it doesn't work. But in reality, well, like,
Yeah.
damn well better believe it works. That's, that's important shit.
Yeah.
Links obviously are still and
They're still.
have always been. We've always thought they were.
I know. I know.
And like, yeah, hey, they are.
It's ridiculous. They'll keep telling you know what? I mean, the best SEOs in the world, they'll all say the same thing, that they don't listen to any noise. They'll just test. It's all about data. And those guys will say the exact same things that, like, I mean, I'm tracking a lot of campaigns at the moment, and there's a lot of patterns in certain techniques that we're using. And yeah, links are extremely important. They always will be. I mean, if you were to take links away, what would there be on the internet to really give Google that there are votes of confidence? Because that's all they are. They're basically votes of confidence, right, for this website. Right. Kind of like if you were, a politician or and you're looking for, if say, for example, a politician said, hey, I think Barry's a great guy, that would give me a lot of credibility, right? So if it was a good politician that everybody liked, So I guess it's the same thing with a website, It's like if the website's got high authority and it's very well respected and it's trusted in Google's eyes and it has traffic and all that kind of good stuff, you get a link from them, then that's a trust signal. That's obviously going to give you some boost and stuff. If they took links away, tell me what there is. Great content all swimming out there in the lost vastness of the internet. It's not it's not going to happen. So
right.
So links, obviously now we all know that it's been hammered home so many times, the quality content, and now there's all the arguments of whether EAT or EEAT is real and blah blah blah. But I think we all know great content is worth it, right? But how is that measured? And one thing that was interesting, I thought, about the algorithm leak is, if I'm getting this right, that Google actually use an LLM, an AI LLM, to measure the effort put into a page, which to me is pretty crazy and also quite simple if you think about it. Because if you were to just feed a web page to, say, Gemini or ChatGPT and say, tell me how much effort has been put on this page, it would probably do a pretty good job. Oh, I see that there's been pictures on here. I see that there's been, it would be able to tell you that it's not just like a quick 5-minute job, wouldn't it? So I guess if they can implement that into the algorithm, that's probably the best sort of indication that we should put some effort into our content, which is what we're doing with our projects at the moment. Actually, this month we've hired a designer to do the visuals and stuff in the posts and everything like that. And we're somehow trying to work out how we're going to do videos for this particular project. But it's in a, I think you would know what it is, but it's in the finance niche, and it's not as easy as me just sort of standing there on camera and saying, hey, it's this technical things. So we've got to figure out how we're going to do videos. But that's essentially what we want to do. Like, we're trying to create great content with lots of elements in there, hopefully some videos embedded in there and that kind of stuff. And then we're going to obviously measure the results, So,
I think we've done a few PRs for you with
in that realm.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's just the same, the stuff that we have known,
Yeah.
SEOs for a long time, like good content, you got links, build other collateral content around it, videos, good
Mm,
images, right? And
right.
it's going to perform well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
solid. Um, uh, uh, what do you think? You mentioned the EEAT.
Mm,
I've seen a couple of different things and some stuff coming out of that and people's take on it, and they're
yeah.
like, they
Yeah.
can't figure it out.
I
It's,
mean,
it came out but in reality, like, Google
I mean,
doesn't know if it's
exactly.
EEAT. How do they measure it?
Exactly. You know what? I don't. I think like everybody, I don't really know the answer to whether that really exists.
I
It
know.
probably it probably does to a certain extent. I don't think it's as black as white as saying a yes or no. But
Yeah,
think about what some of those letters stand for: expertise and experience. So what they're kind of essentially saying is, if you have a review website on vacuum cleaners, you have to have used all of these vacuum cleaners on your website. Otherwise, you have no experience and you're not credible. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you'd have to, it's just impractical, isn't it? So, I mean, that is obviously a silly example, but I mean, I think that probably goes across many different niches. There's no way that you can
right.
have experience in everything that you're talking about. But again, is that really important? Because we're allowed opinions on things, right? We
Right.
don't have to have hands-on experience in the thing that we're talking about always, So for me, the whole EEAT thing, I'm just like covering my bases here. So this week we've actually got some author profiles being built out on a bunch of websites. So they'll have different profiles, and the profile of each individual author will look genuine. It will have like the profile under there, and in the blog post there will be obviously the author bio and everything. But again, they're not real. They're not real people.
Right.
One of us is, the guy doing the profiles, but he won't be on there. He won't have a say.
Right. But
So
that kind of gets to the point is like,
it's just,
you can create this stuff and make it
yeah,
look real, but doesn't mean that it is,
no,
obviously.
I
So,
don't think so. I think
yeah,
maybe the EAT thing, or the EEAT thing, I'll just call it EAT. Maybe
yeah,
the EAT thing is, another one of Google's sneaky attempts to try and get everybody to create amazing content for the internet.
yeah,
And then maybe some people did panic, and there's probably lots of SEOs out there who would have a lot of data on whether these things work. Some people obviously have hundreds of websites that they do these EAT tests on and stuff, and they would have data. But in my experience, I think um, it's not particularly challenging to pay for somebody to create author profiles and to create really good content. It's all within reach. So I mean, why not? Why wouldn't you create good content, author bios? So we're just doing it anyway. But
yeah,
I know that the majority of the results that we're getting at the moment come from the links that we're building.
yeah,
So
yeah,
because I'm testing things in groups. So I've got a bunch of websites, and we have different case, type, I guess, loosely controlled case studies all in groups like
right.
this. So we get to watch what actually is working,
Yeah.
and because things change, so we always have to track it.
So can I get your opinion on links? I mean, you've been doing links for a long time. There are
Yeah.
people I respect a lot of folks, their opinions on things. I've got a group of people I really respect, and like, we do tier one and tier two, and that's it, basically. And then I've
Okay.
got there's somebody I really respect as well, and this guy goes way deep, like
Yeah.
5, 6 tiers
Really?
on his links. I'm like,
That's
God,
yeah.
that's a lot of, I'm one of the lazy SEOs, I guess. I'm like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. It is a lot of
But,
work. Tiered link
so
building
where
is a
do
lot.
you land? What do you think? I like this uh,
So
gentleman over on this side. he swears and he does a lot of testing.
Right.
But in my mind, I'm thinking, God, do you really get all of that return for all of the effort
Mm.
that you put into
Yeah.
going 4, 5, 6
Right.
tiers deep on link?
So, yes, it's an interesting thing you brought up. So, for me, I think first and foremost, tiered link building would be more of a like I try to. I'm very almost paranoid about keeping websites, especially client websites, safe. So, if I know there are a certain type of link category that are somewhat risky, say it would be like PBNs or SAPE links or something like that. I won't point them to the website unless the client, if it's a client project, unless the client directly says, please do that to my website. I'll do it as long as they know what it is. But so for me, the tier link building is like, tier ones, I focus as much as I can on the highest quality links possible. Obviously, it's pointless putting a high authority guest post as a tier two. It would be kind of silly. So I basically just, this wouldn't be anything new, but, so encompass the website with as many quality tier one links as possible. Then the more kind of risky kind of links that we also know does send power. Like people know PBNs work, right? SAPE links do work, stuff like that. But it's risky pointing that to clients' websites, and I don't like doing that. So what I'll do is I'll point them to those higher quality ones, and I've never ever had any issues. But I do go up to 4 tiers as my max usually.
You do though. You'll go deeper. Yeah.
But it's thing is with tier link building, if you're doing it with client work, it gets really hard to manage because you have to, there's not enough time in the day for me to do absolutely everything myself. So we have like an outreach team now that do guest posts and things like that. But we have to obviously, so I design the campaigns and then I send the orders off to the team, and then they have to go out and do their thing. And sometimes it might take, even if they're fast, it might take them 10 days to get the link actually placed. And then, of course, after 10 days, if we go bang straight on the day that it gets delivered, then we've got to start building tier two. How long is that going to take? And then that's at the end of that, and then we're already into week 3 and week 4, and then we've got to deliver reports at the end of the month. So it's like, so there's not really enough. There is, if you could press some button on SER ranker or whatever and do 10,000 backlinks in 5 seconds and silly things like that. But if you want to do like half decent tier 2 links, like niche edit links and things like that, that stuff takes time because you've got to wait for tier 1 to finish, then you've got to wait for the next tier to finish and things like that. And if you've only got a month, and it takes a week per tier, you can only really do 4 tiers before you, Of course, maybe month 2 you can go tier 5, tier 6, but I haven't tested to that level, but I do. 4 tiers is the max that I go at the moment.
So, how do you? Because I've had this scenario, even in the last couple of months, actually, where with the link building that we're doing for clients, but a client insists, no, I want these shitty links going to my money site, and I'm like talking to him like, listen, I'm really advising you not to do this, right? So you say safe links. I had somebody who was like, yeah, I want you to send these GSA links to. I'm like, and like exact match GSA links. I'm like, I'm really not advising that. I would not do that.
Yeah, I know. I have to go through this as well, and honestly, like over the years, it's funny. I was thinking about this a bit earlier. Over the years, I think as a freelancer, sometimes you can become a bit jaded because you do get a lot of people that perhaps have low level of knowledge. Like there's 2 camps of people I find. You have the low level of knowledge, the people that only want to spend $5 and think you can change the world and give them $1 million business, and those people those people are more abundant. So you, as a freelancer or SEO, you'll meet those people all the time, and those people are frustrating to talk to, because if they're being unrealistic with budgets, it costs me hundreds and hundreds of dollars sometimes just for one link, and I'll get some dude he'll say like, I want to be number one for $25. I'm like, okay. So there's those types of people, and I don't believe they can really be helped until they do other things in their life and build their own business, and then start to recognize how much money you need to get this working. And then there's the other type of people that are very cool. I've got a few clients like this who started off where they just take a little bit of education. It's not that they're ignorant or anything like that. They're intelligent, smart people, good budgets, everything like that. But some people are not SEOs. They might have a loose interest in SEO, and they might have a decent level of knowledge. But of course, if that client the clients are usually working in something other than the SEO, which is the reason why they hired you in the first place, right? So they're focused on their business, whatever they do, creating, doing whatever they need to do, accountants and running their business and profits and stuff like that. So they can't be expected to follow trends like us geeks on the internet, like watching the algorithm, so they, so I think it's good for everybody to just, respectfully educate if they're reasonable people. Some people aren't. If they're reasonable people, you can have a good conversation and just start advising slowly. And I think also it's on us as SEOs as well, because once you start showing people a little bit of results that you do know what you're doing, then they're like, oh, okay, I'll start listening now. So I've had to do that. I've had conversations with clients where I've had to slowly say, I don't think that's a good idea. You need to maybe back off that, and keywords and PBNs and all this kind of. So I guess to wrap that up, I guess it would be, if they're reasonable people with good budgets and they understand business, they can be spoken to, and you can have an adult conversation and educate them on the right methods, So
what's your take on the AI search? I'm sure. I'm guessing that it's rolled out over there in Thailand. I'm not sure, but now if I go on the Big G and I do a search for whatever, I'm going to get this long piece of response from the AI generated search response. Well, I'm curious at a couple of a two-part question. What is your thoughts about that, and how do you think that that's going to impact organic search and listings? Right, so the SEO stuff that we're doing.
Right. So a couple of months back, actually, I gave a talk. My first actual live talk to an audience a couple of months back to,
you came out of hiding. Wow.
Yeah, I know. I can't see it. I do exist in the real world, I am out there somewhere, I promise. It's just I don't put it all on social media, but there we go. So, so anyway, I gave this talk, and it was about, it was initially supposed to be just SEO. And at the last minute, when they sent me the speakers lineup, under my name, it said SEO and AI. And I was like, oh, shit, here we go. So I was like, okay, so I suppose I better really, really get deep on this. Because I was already using AI anyway, obviously, because SEO it comes hand in hand to sort keywords out and do all the little things and all the things that Scrapebox used to do for me, like chop off little bits and do little things, off the protocols, that kind of thing. I do all that with AI now. It's so cool. But so in terms of what I think it will do for search, so I gave this talk, and part of the talk was about SGE, right? So it's the search generative experience. We don't have it in Thailand yet. I had to log into Google Search Labs and do it on a VPN and use it in the US and kind of things like that. But they were really, really interested. But as I was kind of researching all this, I was also thinking, like, damn, like this is pretty serious stuff. Like, and what I did notice that straight away was the fact that there was only a handful of citations. So it might be like 1, 2, 3, and the citations. There's a carousel on the right hand. I'm not sure how it's laid out now. It might be the same as when I was looking at that when I did that talk, but I remember there was a carousel to the one side, and then there would be the citations embedded within the text.
Right.
The citations, I thought logically would correlate, like citation 1 would be site number 1, and it wasn't. It was just this one was from some website about tomato ketchup down here.
Yeah.
And it was just like all over the place. And even yesterday, I was doing a bit of a car search, and I was looking for the horsepower of this particular car. And then I was using Perplexity, actually. I don't know if you use that. So, and it gives you the suggested questions afterwards. So I hit one of the suggested questions, and it was about like, what do I do to increase the horsepower? And I thought, okay, cool. And it told you like ECU mapping and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
I clicked on one of the citations, and it took me to a completely unrelated website about expanding businesses in the economy of some blah, blah, blah era. And I was like, what is this? So for me, it's just like, I don't think it's there yet. I mean, maybe it will be, but I think there's, one thing from a user side, there are things that are more convenient just to have it spat out. Second, can you actually believe what it's telling you? That's the thing that I think a lot of people are probably going to sort of look at things. And third, it's a question of revenue, isn't it? Because Google gets paid by clicks and advertisements, and I know that they kind of don't like SEOs, but they kind of need us there as well. So they're making money from all of these advertising networks and stuff like that. So I don't think they can really go full hog AI and kill all of their revenue streams or anything like that. So, but yeah, where it will go, I don't know. I love AI and all the stuff that it can do now and all the tools. And for me, it's not replaced anything, but it's sped up a ton of processes for me. So previously where I would have to use Google Sheets and go ding, 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 ding.
Sure.
It speed all that kind of processing of data up and stuff. So I love it for the convenience and what it does. But as a search engine, I might be wrong, but personally, I can't really see it replacing traditional search anytime soon. Perplexity, I would say, is almost what Google SGE is trying to be, I would say. I think Perplexity is a better tool than SGE by far because of the way it's laid out. SGE's got a long way to go if it's going to be any good. But there's still.
How do you think it impacts, the SGE experience? How do you think that's going to impact organic search? So people, the work that we do as SEOs and ranking our clients. Is that going to diminish traffic going to those sites? And if so, are you looking at other methods of driving traffic to sites?
So this isn't my own data, but again, I remember reading some stats and they were predicting something like a 20% traffic drop for all of the websites on the front page if SGE gets implemented. So that was the number that was coming around. But like, if I don't know. It's a big question, really, isn't it? But I don't think I think there's a lot of life left in SEO. I know a lot of people say SEO is dead, and they've been saying that every single algorithm. And I'm still sitting here, But really, SEO. If you're going to stay in what's traditionally known as SEO, you just kind of have to evolve with the times and say if AI does become like a heavy influence on search in the future, there's still it's AI and it's really smart, but at the end of the day, our brains are smarter than AI, and collectively as people online and stuff, we can work some stuff out between ourselves. So there's always an underlying algorithm that us humans can figure out. So if it's AI or it's whatever technology, some geek will figure it out, and then the rest of the SEOs go, right, we're doing that.
That's brilliant. I'm going to go with that. I think you're right. I think Oh, hold on.
Yeah, no worries. That's a good idea.
I think the SGE has got a long way to go. Boy, I don't
Yeah.
know what happened.
Right.
All right, I don't know what happened. But I was going to ask you one more question, though. What tools
Sure.
are you using in your world right now?
Oh, okay. I thought that you were going to ask me this question. So, yeah, and actually, somebody on my team today actually asked me the same question because he's very good at organizing things and better than I am. So I have processes that I use different tools for, and he can come in and basically usually works his magic, rearranges things. And anyway, so he was asking me today what I'm currently using, which is honestly like not really. I don't think it's much, right? But I believe in simplicity, and convenience, So the CRM that we're using to manage projects is Monday.com. So Monday.com, I used to use Trello, but I think with SEO, where there is so many moving pieces and there's different team members, there's different freelancers that I use, and we have to track the deadlines of certain people. We have to track when that was ordered. With Monday, there's sub items that drop down, and you can place costs in here. So Monday.com is just for me is really really good. So we're using that for obviously the CRM tracking projects. I also use that somewhat to track leads and things, but I'm not a lead chaser or anything. I don't do any cold outreach. I don't message anybody asking if they want SEO. Like I'm fortunate enough that I have usually enough in the pipeline to to kind of just allow people to contact me. I'm really fortunate like that nowadays. So yeah, so I don't really sort of use a CRM to track leads or cold email. I don't do any of that. For communication with the team, it's Slack. So I used to really. I'm not a massive fan on Slack. I know people love it. It's a little bit annoying with the way that it has like threads, and you can't quite see if somebody had answered that thread, and it's a little bit annoying.
Right.
But so we use Slack for communication. Also Telegram as well for like quick messages and things like that. I also speak to some of my clients on Telegram for like quick messages and things. Um, yeah, and what else? Obviously Google Sheets and things. Obviously,
Sure.
pretty much everything. The
What
typical.
what AI engine do you tend to go with? Do you use ChatGPT? Do you use
Yeah.
Gemini? Where do you?
You know what? I use a combination of all of them. I think they're all good for certain things. So I use Gemini, ChatGPT, and I'm actually subscribed to Claude, but honestly, I haven't really used it as much as I should.
Hmm,
So I found when I first started using Claude, it wrote really great content. It was really well written, but for some reason, it started getting really, really fancy and overly fluffy, and it was trying to be too special. I just
yeah.
sometimes you just want it to write you a little summary of something, and it would just reel off all this wonderful vocabulary, and it was just over the top. So I kind of got put off by that really. But now, yeah, now it would be mostly for convenience, ChatGPT. I also um, use Chat because ChatGPT has their API and it's really easy to
Right.
plug into a
Right.
lot of different tools. So we use that and Gemini as well. I do like Gemini because with Gemini, you can search your Google Drive for anything that's in there.
Right.
So and your emails, you can go back to emails that you remember from 5 years ago and just type it into Gemini and it will go into your email and find it. It's really smart. So I like
It's very
Gemini.
smart. A little spooky though, right?
Yeah, it is.
I just bought a new Chromebox. I like using Chrome, and I use a Chromebox as one of my main workstations in my office here. And with that, I got an offer to go be the Gemini. I don't remember what they're calling it, like Plus or something. But anyway, whatever their latest and greatest version of Gemini is, I'm like, all right. And so the stuff that you're describing, like going into your emails and into your drive, I'm like, well, that's really is quite convenient, very nice. But then the other side is like, that's just a little spooky and a little.
Now they've only just rolled that out to us, but that's what they've been doing for years. Like,
yes, I know.
So Gemini is great for that. I think you can find it's really convenient, and I'm also kind of convinced that because Gemini is a Google thing, sometimes I'll want like semantically relevant keywords. Say I've got a keyword list, I find Gemini is actually good to create alternative keywords for the same meaning, semantically relevant keywords. So I think because it's a Google thing, in my mind anyway, I think it would be far more accurate than say ChatGPT, and the fact that you can save everything to Google Sheets with one click and kind of stuff like that is a great tool. But ChatGPT is definitely becoming I think it's just quick and convenient with ChatGPT. Like the API in the back end works. And it's just a great tool. It just reminded me, I am actually using another tool. We don't use it all the time, but we use a tool called cuppa.sh. Which is Charles Float's tool, I think. But there's a lot of people involved. That is for me, that is the best AI writer I've found. It's really good value. It's a low cost for a yearly membership, and it plugs into ChatGPT. So instead of like these tools that have their credit system and they're making profit off all of the credits that you then have to use, Cuppa doesn't do that. You plug in your own API, so it only uses your credits and they don't get anything from it. It's really well thought out, and it creates incredible long form, highly optimized SEO content. It's really, really good. So I'd recommend that if anybody
wants. That's a good tool. We use so many different AI writing tools, and we use them similar to what you were saying. We kind of use them in tandem with each other. So like we'll create content in one tool, like like I might use ZimWriter or Koala or Cuppa, and then I'll dump it into another tool like ScaleNut or NeuroWriter, and use their ability to ensure the semantic relevancy and fine tune the article. My editors will go, they'll go in and like attack. So I found is that's kind of the best combination or sequence anyway. Kind of get a good tool, write a good foundational piece of content, drop it into another tool to fine tune it and really get it right. And that seems to work pretty well. And it may sound like it's complicated, but it's really a pretty fast process. So
that's you know what, if we had AI back then when I was doing all that content, it would be so nice. We're so lucky now that we can create some really, really good stuff. So even so, it might sound we're spoiled basically because we're thinking, oh, that's a lot of work. You mean I have to click more than one button? So like you used to have to go like this and write for an hour. Now you can click one button and create some, or maybe 3 buttons. But it's funny you bring up ZimWriter. That's another one that I haven't used it yet, but I see loads of people are saying ZimWriter is like the best one for them. So I'm planning to probably get a ZimWriter at some point. And I do have NeuronWriter as well, which I do like actually. And I like that they have on-site they have an optimization function as well. Very similar to a Surfer. And what's funny actually, I've done side-by-side optimizations of the same content with both NeuronWriter and Surfer. I know that Surfer's great and everybody, I like Surfer it was basically exactly the same. It
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
optimization level here compared to Surfer here was exactly the same. It was like I got this one to 89, took it over here, also said 89. It's that, and I've got a lifetime subscription to Neuron Writer, so I don't
Yeah,
need to be
yeah.
monthly sub.
No, I know there's so many of these tools. I think there's so many really good ones. ZimWriter as an example, we were just talking. I just had Matthew Zimmerman, who's behind ZimWriter.
Right.
He was just on the show a few weeks ago. But they take the same approach like Cuppa, where you just bring in your own API, and
Oh, right.
yeah, and so you're not getting dinged with this credits thing either.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do, because most of
Yeah.
these writers, they just, I don't want, I'm already paying for all these different things. I don't want to be paying credits to a software company and a monthly subscription and stuff
Yes,
like that.
yeah.
Exactly. So I wasn't aware about ZimWriter doing that. So yeah, that's convinced me even more. I'll have to. It's a Windows tool though, right?
It is a Windows tool that needs to reside on your system. So
Yeah. So
yeah,
I use a Mac, but I've got Parallels, so I guess I can install it on Parallels and just have that separate thing.
yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why I have in my office, like what we're doing the show on is on my Windows machine, but my main machine is my Chromebox. And people are
Right.
like, Chromebox, really? What? But I've got a i9 Chromebox with
Damn.
64
Wow.
gig of RAM, and this thing just screams.
That sounds well. I've just recently invested. I needed a new Mac. I use Mac, so I needed a new MacBook. I got the M2 Air, and it's really impressive actually what it does. But it's still only 8 gig of RAM, the one I've got,
Oh,
and then you're like 64 and stuff. It's just, but there's no fans on this or anything. It's really good. It's super convenient. Again, it's just convenience really. So for me, there's no fans. Super light. Open it. It's on. I can do a little thing. It's good. So,
I think the MacBooks, I always look at like, that's just a really expensive Chromebook. So
it's true. I mean, it's true. I understand the argument with MacBooks. I really do, because they don't. It just kind of looks like a fashion piece to some people. It's just like, oh, it's just got the name. That's why you're paying all this money. But really, for me, they're just like bricks. They're just. I bought the last laptop I bought was a HP. After 3 months, the speaker on the right-hand side stopped working. It was creaky and all this kind of stuff, and it was quite expensive. And then after that, I moved to Mac, and then I just had this like brick of a thing, and I was chucking it around, moving it around, traveling. Never any issues whatsoever. So I was just like, for me personally, it works for me to have a Mac, because I do move around quite a bit, and they get beaten up. So yeah, MacBooks for me.
Nice.
So,
all right. So last question. What's around the corner for Barry? What's the next?
Yeah. So
or maybe what are you working on towards the next?
Yeah. Okay. So I don't like to plan out too far, because I think that sometimes life can take you in some interesting ways. So I generally just try to work hard on what I've got in front of me and let the cards fall where they may, kind of thing, So at the moment, I'm just, like I said earlier, super deep on my SEO at the moment. So we've got quite a few projects that we're working on. So that is just a full-time job for me right now. So I'm at this computer pretty much every day. If I'm not sitting here, I'm somewhere else with my computer, all deep in the SEO and stuff, which I'm really enjoying at the moment, because I'm enjoying it because we're getting some good results for people. So if we didn't get good results, I'd probably be miserable, because everybody would be complaining. So it's a good time right now. So people are happy. People are happy. Deep in on the SEO. So for the time being, I'm just going to keep working on becoming the best SEO that I can personally be. And where that leads me in the future, I'm not really sure. But I don't have any plans to leave SEO. I tried really hard once to leave SEO because we get bored sometimes, but I couldn't leave it behind it. I felt left out, so I'm here. I think I've just committed now. I'm here for life now. So I think for me, SEO might evolve and whatever, but I will still be, Barry's flag in the sands.
There we go.
Doing his own thing, which is pretty much what I always do. I just
All
do
right,
my.
I dig it. Is Freddie still out there with you?
Yeah, he is. He's still out there. I mean, me and him are so busy, we don't actually see each other all that often.
Yeah.
But when we do, yeah, it's cool. Sometimes we'll meet we have like local saunas here, like public saunas, which you can go like swimming and go. So we hang out there sometimes, which is pretty cool. But we're getting on now, so we have our family lives, So I've got
I know, right?
he's got loads of dogs at his place, and we all have all these responsibilities and stuff. So it's back in the old days when we were teenagers and riding around in cars and having fun and all that. It's like, yeah, we're kind of grown up now, so we have to be responsible and take the dogs for a walk and that kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds good. Well, listen, man, it's super to have you on the show. Appreciate you carving out some time. It's just good to catch up with you and what's going on. Yeah,
excellent. Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I really appreciate that. It's definitely been a fun chat. So.
Yeah. All right, folks. That is it. And I was going to look at real quick. I can't remember. Oh, I got Dan Kurtz is on the show next week. And if you don't know, Dan is like a super wizard at doing automation and automated setups using make.com. Man, some of the really complicated things Dan has done is amazing. So if you love and think about automating processes in your business, in your SEO agency or hybrid SEO agency that Barry runs, check out the show with Dan because I'm sure he's going to share some fabulous stuff. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So again, Barry, thanks, man. It was great to talk with you.
Thanks a lot, Randy. Take care. Thanks.